The bar near the naval base was alive with noise, heavy boots thudding against the wooden floor, glasses clinking, and loud laughter spilling from every corner. It was the kind of place where stories grew bigger with each retelling and egos grew louder with every drink. In the middle of it all, she sat alone on a bar stool, calm and still, as if the chaos around her didn't exist. Her sleeves were rolled up just enough to reveal a tattoo on her forearm. It wasn't dramatic or colorful, no skulls, no flames, nothing that demanded attention. Just a simple symbol etched in black ink, followed by a short line of numbers. Faded, old, intentional. At first, it drew curious glances. Then whispers. "Hey, look at that," someone muttered. Another laughed. "What is that, a secret code?" The comments grew bolder as the drinks flowed. A group of sailors nearby leaned closer, openly staring now. One of them chuckled and said, "Looks like she's trying to look tough." Another added, "Probably doesn't even know what it means." A phone was lifted. A photo snapped. The laughter erupted again, louder this time. She didn't react. She didn't flinch or pull her sleeve down. Her gaze remained fixed on the glass in front of her, fingers wrapped loosely around it. Years of discipline had taught her that attention, good or bad, was never something to chase. The bartender noticed. He hesitated, then asked softly if everything was all right. She gave a small nod, offering no explanation. To the crowd, she was just another civilian in a military bar, an easy target for jokes. No one wondered why she sat so straight. No one questioned the quiet strength in her posture. They laughed, unaware that the ink on her arm carried a story none of them were ready to hear. The door opened without ceremony, but the atmosphere shifted instantly. It wasn't loud footsteps or an announcement that caused it, just instinct. Conversation softened, laughter dulled, a few heads turned. The man who entered wore plain clothes, yet nothing about him blended in. His posture was rigid, controlled, the kind shaped by years of command and consequences. His eyes scanned the room the way some people breathed, automatically, precisely. He hadn't come to be noticed. He rarely ever did. The SEAL commander approached the bar, nodding once at the bartender. As he waited, his gaze moved across the room, cataloging faces, exits, movement. Then he saw the pointing. The laughter. The woman sitting alone. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then his eyes locked onto her forearm. The effect was immediate. His breath stalled. His shoulders stiffened. The glass in his hand stopped halfway to the bar. The tattoo, small, faded, almost easy to miss, hit him with the force of memory. That symbol wasn't art. It was a mark used only once. The numbers beneath it weren't random. They were coordinates, a designation, a date burned into classified history. His jaw tightened. He had seen that marking before, on a body bag report, on a redacted file, on a wall of names that officially did not exist. It belonged to an operation erased from records, spoken of only in locked rooms and lowered voices. Yet there it was, alive, on her arm. The laughter around her continued, grating now, each sound sharper than the last. They had no idea what they were mocking. No idea they were standing in the presence of something rare and costly. The commander set his glass down slowly. He turned his body fully toward her, eyes fixed on the tattoo, then on her face. For the first time that night, uncertainty crossed his expression, and in a voice meant only for truth, he asked, "Where did you get that?" The question cut through the bar like a blade. Conversations faded, replaced by an uneasy quiet as a few people sensed something had changed. The woman finally looked up, her eyes meeting the commander's without hesitation. There was no surprise in her expression, only a calm that came from long familiarity with moments like this. "I didn't get it," she said quietly. "I earned it." Her words landed heavy. The commander took a slow step closer, careful now, as if approaching something fragile and powerful at the same time. His eyes dropped back to the tattoo, tracing the symbol and the numbers beneath it. Every detail confirmed what he already feared, and hoped, was true. That mark belonged to an operation that had gone catastrophically wrong. A mission buried under layers of classification. A team sent in under impossible conditions and never fully accounted for afterward. Officially, no one survived. Unofficially, one name had always remained unresolved. He remembered the reports, broken transmissions, a last distress signal, then silence. He remembered standing in a briefing room where even seasoned officers struggled to speak. He remembered the guilt of unanswered questions. And now, here she was. "You were there," he said, more statement than question. She nodded once. The commander straightened, the weight of recognition settling over him. Slowly, deliberately, he raised his hand and rendered a sharp, formal salute, one given not out of rank, but out of respect. The room went completely silent. Every eye turned toward them. The laughter from moments earlier felt distant, almost unreal. The men who had mocked her shifted uncomfortably, their confidence evaporating as they realized they had crossed an invisible line. She returned the salute, not crisp, not exaggerated, but perfect. Muscle memory never forgot. In that instant, the woman in the bar was no longer a stranger. She was a survivor, and the commander finally knew the truth they had never been allowed to write down. The commander lowered his hand, but the respect in his posture remained. He turned slowly toward the stunned faces around the bar. No one spoke, no one laughed. The silence now felt heavier than the noise ever had. She was part of an operation that never officially existed, he said, his voice calm but commanding. A mission so compromised that most of the details were erased before the reports were even filed. A few sailors exchanged uneasy glances. That tattoo, he continued, pointing briefly toward her arm, is not a symbol of pride. It's a marker of survival. He paused, and of sacrifice. He looked back at her. For the first time, his voice softened. Extraction failed. Comms went dark. The team was surrounded. His jaw tightened. We lost some of the best people I ever served with. The woman's expression didn't change, but her fingers curled slightly against the bar. She carried wounded operators through hostile ground, the commander said. Not once, not twice, but until there was no one left to move. His eyes swept the room. She held a defensive position alone long enough for a secondary recovery team to reach the site. A quiet breath moved through the bar. They're alive because of her, he finished. Some of us are standing here today because she refused to leave anyone behind. The bartender slowly pushed a fresh glass toward her. This one's on the house, he said, voice low, respectful. She shook her head slightly. I didn't do it for thanks, she replied. I know, the commander said. That's why it matters. No one met her eyes now out of mockery, but out of shame. The truth had settled in, undeniable and uncomfortable. And once heard, it couldn't be laughed away. The woman finished her drink in silence and slid the glass back across the bar. She stood, unhurried, pulling her sleeve down to cover the tattoo once more. The ink disappeared beneath the fabric, but its weight remained in the room. No one spoke as she moved. The men who had laughed earlier stepped aside without being asked, eyes lowered, their earlier confidence replaced by quiet respect. The bar that had once felt loud and careless now seemed restrained, almost reverent. At the door, she paused. The commander looked up, already standing. Their eyes met again. No ranks, no titles, just understanding. Thank you, she said. Not for the drink, not for the silence, for remembering. He nodded once. We never forgot, he replied. We just weren't allowed to say it out loud. A faint smile touched her lips, brief, restrained, and gone just as quickly. She opened the door and stepped into the night, the sound of the bar closing behind her. For a long moment, no one moved. The commander returned to his seat but didn't pick up his glass. His thoughts were elsewhere, on names etched into memory, on missions that lived only in shadows, on a survivor who carried history on her skin and asked nothing in return. Finally, someone exhaled. Another cleared his throat, but no one laughed. That night, the bar learned something no training manual could teach. Not all heroes wear uniforms, and not all battles are visible. Some stories are earned in silence. And some respect is never demanded, only deserved.